Hey guys, welcome back to Terra Fantasy. In today's video, we're going to be talking the gearing system in the game and sort of do my best to explain the way it's going to work when we hit global. Now, once global is here, I will do a revised complete guide of this. It just sucks trying to do guides when everything's in Chinese, but I wanted to make this one before global so that you guys can get a basic understanding of the way the gearing system works and some little, things to avoid and mistakes to avoid making. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump over here into our character panel. I'm going to take a look at it. Now, there's multiple systems of gearing. In my summon systems, I talk about the summons. When you summon, you're summoning for a weapon and you get the character as essentially a skin. The character can get passives, but that's not what this video is about. So you got your weapon in itself that is one piece of your equipment. Now, on top of that, your weapons will also have these chips, or they're called matrices. I call them chips for short. And each weapon has 4 matrices slots. Different slots, you can see we've got the heart. They label them different things, but we've got the 4 different slots for matrices. If you have one of these ones with this symbol, you can't put it in another slot. So that is the second thing that we have. We have the weapons, then we have the chips in the weapons. Then we have over here on our backpack, when we click on that, we have equipment or gear. Now, this is the next thing that has 2 things tied into it. You can upgrade the equipment slot, and you can also upgrade the equipment. So the 4 main things we have for the gearing system in itself is going to be the weapons, the weapon matrices or chips, the gear slot, and then the gear itself. So now I wanted to dive into each one of those and talk about them. So first of all, the weapon itself, it's very self-explanatory. You'll hit this button, it'll go to power up. You either have enough to power it up or you don't. You get to limit breaking sections every 10 levels. There's this limit breaking where you need to use these things. And then every other level in between that, all you need is some basic experience. I don't think I have the stuff for these ones. So if I go over, for instance, to a level 0 weapon, for instance, this one, and we want to power it up, you'll see that you just have to use some of these things. So there's every 10 levels you limit break, which have harder to obtain materials. And then in between that, you just use some basic throwaway materials to upgrade them. That is essentially the way the weapons work. On top of that, with your weapons, you can gain star upgrades for them by getting duplicates of them. And when you do those star upgrades, you will unlock extra benefits to that weapon that enhance maybe its attributes, its attack growth, or maybe it adds a different effect to the weapon. So all weapons will have that sort of system where you can star them up and gain extra. That is pretty much it for the weapons. Now we jump into the matrices, which you attach to the weapons. Now these are going to be, when you compare it to other games, they're going to act sort of like gear in, if we go over here and just take a look at some of them. Now obviously this is not translated, all that stuff, but they're going to have their basic stats that they come with. But on top of that, they're going to have set effects. So in a lot of other games, you have set effects for having 2 pieces of a certain type of gear and 4 pieces. The way you get those effects in this game are through the matrices. So here with King's matrice or chip, if you have 2, you're going to gain 1 effect. If you have 4, you're going to gain another effect. So I figure this is a really good time to give a plug to terrafantasy.info. I don't actually know who runs this, but it's a fantastic website, and I just thought I'd throw it in here. I'll leave it linked in the description in case you want to look into these things. So for instance, here we're looking at the King matrice. We can just jump over here and you can read it. So they've got all this stuff translated. Obviously, when we get to the English version, you'll be fine. But if you want to look into this stuff beforehand, you can. On top of that, if you want to look at, say, weapon upgrades, for instance, let's go to Shiro and you want to see what her star upgrades do, you can come here in this website and you can find out what those star upgrades are, all translated in case you're trying to think about what you might want to get or work on when it comes to global. So that is a great site. Definitely check it out. It's got a lot of good, just database type stuff. I love database websites, so go and check it out. So that is these. These are like the chips, the upgrades that are going to give you those set effects. Now, the thing with these is that's pretty cool is you can power them up pretty freely, even the low level ones. So if I go over here to say this one here and I go to power it up, if I feed it, let's see one that we got more of. So at the moment, if I feed it a single blue one, it's going to give me 150 experience. So we can do that. Takes it to level 3, cool beans. Now, if I wanted to go back and power up a different one, for instance, this one, and I wanted to power it up, once again, if I gave it a normal blue one, it would give me 150 experience. However, if I gave it the one that I just put 150 experience into, it will give me 300 experience. So in short, what I'm trying to say is you can power up the low level ones, and then when you go past them, like once you get past the stage of using Rs and you're into SRs and SSRs, the experience that you put into the Rs, you can just feed them on to your SRs and SSRs, and that experience will continue, so you don't get a loss in it. So don't be afraid to power these up, just like the, you know, the Rs that you get that you begin with, because you can actually carry that benefit into the next one that you're going to be using. Now, keep an eye out, just double check this at global, make sure it is still like that, but that is the way it is working on CN, which is really nice. And that is pretty much all there is to chips and weapons. You got weapons with 4 chip slots. You put the chips in. If you get the certain matching chips, you get the benefits that they apply. Now, all the rare ones have 3-piece benefits, and then when we look at the SSRs and stuff, you get 2-piece benefits, and then 4-piece benefits if you put 4. So you can split it. You can get 2 and 2 if you like 2 different effects and stuff like that. That's going to be more min-maxy in the future. Now, as we move past that, we move on to the gear. Now, you're going to have these gear slots. Now, some of these gear slots, you're not going to get gear from early on just from playing. Some of the gear you can only get from raids and stuff like that. But for the main gear slots that you do get, the heads, the shoulder, the chest, the wrists, the belt, the gloves, the pants, and the boots. Got through that pretty quick. I thought I was going to stumble. But for these, if you want to upgrade them, we can click here and we can click the upgrade button. Now, like I mentioned, there's a gear slot upgrade, and then there's actually upgrading the gear. So for this one here, you can see that we've got this head slot, and we can use this item here to go ahead and upgrade this piece of gear. Now, if I go like that, it's going to take it up to level 13. When we hit level 9, trying to get to level 10, and you know, limit breaking points like that, you will need an additional resource. I can't show you that right now because I don't have them, but you know, you've got these extra resources that you're going to get from the shops. You're also going to get them from the Bygone Phantasm, which is the tower mode and stuff like that. But that is how you're going to upgrade the slots, and don't be afraid to do this, because for instance, if we go over here to my gear and we say, maybe let's swap my legendary for an epic wrist slot. So if I click that and I swap it over, you can see it is still at level 10. So you don't lose anything from upgrading the gear slot. Now, if we go to the next stage and look at upgrading the actual gear itself, we're going to look at here and we're going to hit upgrade. Now, with wrist pieces, you can only feed them wrist pieces. With legs, you can only feed them legs. But we also have these items down here. Now, what I want to look at is, let's not do the wrist piece because I've already put a couple into that when I was testing. If we go over here to the belt, and we go to upgrade. Okay, so for instance here, this is what I wanted to show you here. Now, if I go to here to one of my belts, and we'll go to a green, let's go a belt there, and I go power it up. Now, this is similar to the Matrices, but it's not as efficient. So I wanted to show you guys this one. So if I feed this one a green belt, it's going to give me 75 experience. Tick. There we go. We got the 75 experience. We're on our way to 2-star. We're not quite there, but we got 75 experience from that. Now, if I go to another belt, let's just go to this one. Actually, let's just do a dummy one, and we go here and we go down to this one, and we want to feed that belt that we just start up. It's only going to give us 127 experience. Now, if we go over to a purple belt as well, and we just test it there, it's going to give us 127 versus the 75. Now, 75 plus the 75 that it should have given in the first place should be 150. So it appears that there is a loss on these. So you do get some benefit from feeding already fed gear, but it's not as great. It's not like the exact amount. So there will be losses in these when you upgrade gear and then feed it later on. Now, those upgrades are just going to increase the star levels of it. Now, let's go into the basic stat system of gear. So each gear slot, when you look at it, let's look at boots, for instance. Let's go over here. So you're going to have like the main stat up the top here, which this one, you know, you've got attack and HP, and that's going to be your standard main thing. And then you're going to have substats past it. Now, the substats are those variable stats. So when you get different gear, you're going to get different stats. For instance, this one has fire damage and crit rating, HP, and I believe that's like a resistance. I don't know the symbols too well. It says it there, but you know, I'm not too stressed on that at the moment. All you need to know is you do get the randomized stats through the gear. So the gear is going to be that system where you try and min-max as much as you can to get the correct stats that you want. For instance, if I didn't have any, if I had a lightning and fire team, you know, this one would be pretty good because I got the lightning damage, I got the fire damage, I got the crit rating, and I got some HP. So those are pretty decent substats if my team is consisting of just lightning and fire damage dealers. You know, if I've got frost and physical, it's not so good. So it's those sorts of things you got to look at. Gear is going to be that, keep getting more gear, try and get the right stats you want, and then upgrade the ones with the stats you want. Keeping in mind, you may have several different builds with different weapons that require different gear sets. So you can also have different presets over here with the gear that you want to wear in case you're using different weapons and stuff like that. But that is essentially it with the gear. So I think that pretty much rounds it out. Now, if we want to look at where you're going to get some of this stuff, we can go over here into this shop and take a look. Now, when we jump into this one, this is going to be the limit breaking material that you get. Now, you get these orbs and stuff from just doing dailies and all that sort of stuff. Now, these are the upgrade materials for your weapons, for your gear slots. And this is like the limit breaking material that you need when you hit like level 9 and want to go to level 10 and stuff like that. Now, for the orange orbs, this is where you're going to be able to buy some gear to fill in your slots. So I sort of waited until I had a fair bit of gear, and now I can look and fill in the slots that I want to fill. So, you know, I like attack. So, you know, shoulder pads have attack as a main stat. So now I can go over here to the shop and I can go ahead and pick myself up some shoulder pads to fill in that slot that I'm lacking. So if I go over here and I jump into shoulder pads, I can go here, and the question mark means that it is going to have random stats. You can see the main stats stay the same, but then the random stats that I'm going to get are going to be different. So if I go ahead and purchase that, we can do that. Did it purchase? Yes, it did. Perfect. And now we can go back to my character and check out how that went for stats. And we jump over here, and there you go. It has the quality of life where it's like, this is going to be a gear score upgrade for you. You should probably slap it on. And as you can see here, we've got frost, we've got attack, or is that physical? We've got maybe that's frost resistance. Once again, I sort of suck at reading this stuff, but you know, you've got your different substats. We can slap that on, and away we go. And that is pretty much the main system that everything is going to work off of. You've got weapons that you can upgrade. You got weapon gear or matrices or chips that you can upgrade as well and give you set effects. And then you've got gear slots which you can upgrade, which is just going to be just flat out increases to your power from the gear slot, no matter what gear you put into it. And then you're going to have the actual gear that you can upgrade and give stars to upgrade the stats that that piece of gear individually has. So that's a basic roundup of it. Like I said, within the first week or so of the global launch of the game, I will do a full guide that's properly laid out. But, you know, I don't want to do a full guide on the Chinese version that gets a bit confusing. So we'll go into a min-maxi type guide at global, but that should get you underway to understand how the system works for when global comes. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.